You drive into a parking lot. You find a spot, turn off the engine, and walk away. The car sits there, silent, still, doing nothing. Now here's the question. Is your car making you money right now? No, of course not. It's parked. It's actually costing you. Depreciation is quietly eating its value. Opportunity is passing by while you're not driving it. Now imagine you walk onto a highway. Cars are moving fast. Goods are being transported. People are getting to work. Deals are being closed. Money is changing hands. The highway is alive. Everything on it is in motion, creating value with every mile. Here's the quiet realization that separates how the wealthy see money from how the rest of us see it. Your savings account is a parking lot. Their money is on a highway. And most of us have been taught our whole lives to find the best parking spot when we should have been looking for the nearest on-ramp. Let's sit with that for a moment, because it's not just a metaphor. It's the literal mechanical difference in how money behaves depending on where you put it. A parking lot is designed for stillness. You pay to leave your car there. The lot owner makes money from your inactivity. Your car, in that lot, is an asset doing nothing, slowly losing value, while someone else profits from its stillness. A savings account is exactly the same. You put your money in the bank. It sits there. It earns maybe 0.5% if you're lucky, 4% if you found a high-yield account. But inflation is running at 3% or more. So your money is slowly, quietly losing purchasing power. It's depreciating, just like that parked car. And here's the part they don't tell you. While your money is parked in that savings account, the bank is taking it and putting it on the highway. They lend it out at 7%, 8%, 10% for mortgages, business loans, credit cards. Your parked money becomes their moving money. They profit from the velocity you're not using. You're paying for the parking spot. They're collecting the tolls on the highway. This is the invisible system. The banking system is built on the simple truth that money in motion creates value, and money at rest creates value only for the person who can put it in motion. So the wealthy have a rule. Money must never park. It must always be in motion. Not reckless motion, not gambling, but strategic, directed movement towards something that creates more value. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Imagine two people, each with $50,000. The first person, let's call her Sarah, has been taught that savings is safety. She keeps her $50,000 in a high-yield savings account earning 4%. She feels smart. She feels secure. She's earning $2,000 a year for doing nothing. But watch what's really happening. Inflation is running at 3%, so her real return is 1%. $500 a year in actual increased purchasing power. But here's the killer, that $50,000 is completely static. It's not acquiring anything. It's not creating anything. It's not leveraging anything. It's just sitting there. A car in a lot, slowly rusting. Now meet James. James also has $50,000, but James sees money differently. James takes that $50,000 and uses it as a down payment on a $250,000 rental property. He now has a mortgage of $200,000 at 5%. Let's watch where his money goes. The $50,000 didn't disappear. It transformed. It became equity in a house. It's now an asset that's likely to appreciate over time. But more importantly, it's now part of a system that generates income. The rent from the property is $2,000 a month. The mortgage, taxes, and insurance are $1,500. That's $500 a month cash flow, $6,000 a year. But wait, that $6,000 doesn't just sit there. James takes that $500 a month and puts it into an index fund. Now that money is on another highway, growing in the market. And the property itself, it's appreciating, maybe 3% a year on average. That's another $7,500 a year in increased value, though he doesn't see it until he sells or refinances. And here's where it gets interesting. After a few years, the property has gone up in value. James now has more equity. He goes to the bank and does a cash-out refinance. He pulls out $50,000, tax-free, and uses it as a down payment on another property. The original $50,000 has now bought two properties, created ongoing monthly income, grown in value, and generated tax advantages through depreciation. Sarah's $50,000 is still in the bank, earning $2,000 a year, being silently eaten by inflation. James's $50,000 never stopped moving. It went from his bank account, to a down payment, to equity, to rental income, to investments, to a refinance, to another down payment. It's been on a constant highway, creating value at every exit. This is the difference between a parking lot and a highway. Now you might be thinking, but real estate isn't for everyone. What if I don't want to be a landlord? Fair. The principle isn't about real estate. The principle is about velocity. The wealthy use all kinds of on-ramps. Business ownership is a highway. You put money into a business, it buys inventory, pays for marketing, hires people, creates products, generates revenue. That revenue goes back into more inventory, more marketing, more growth. The money is constantly moving, constantly creating. Even the stock market can be a highway or a parking lot, depending on how you use it. Most people buy a stock and just hold it. They check the price occasionally. Maybe it goes up, maybe down. But the money isn't really moving. It's just sitting there, waiting for someone else to bid the price higher. That's not a highway. That's a parking lot with a nicer view. But when you buy dividend-paying stocks and automatically reinvest the dividends, when you sell options against your holdings to generate income, the money is moving. When you use margin strategically to buy more during dips, the money is moving. The wealthy don't just own assets, they operate them. They put them to work. Think about a business owner with a profitable company. They don't just let the profits pile up in a checking account. They use that cash to acquire a competitor. They invest in new equipment that increases efficiency. They hire a sales team that brings in more revenue. They put the money back into the highway. Or consider how the wealthy use debt. To most people, debt is a parking lot. You borrow money, you buy something, and then you're stuck making payments. The debt just sits there costing you. But to the wealthy, debt can be an on-ramp. They borrow at low rates and invest at higher returns. The borrowed money goes to work immediately, earning more than it costs. The debt itself becomes part of the highway system. This is why the wealthy often seem to have no money sitting still. Their money is always in transit, always en route to somewhere else, always doing one of its three jobs: maintaining itself, acquiring more, or shielding itself from taxes. Now let's get uncomfortably honest for a moment. Most of us are taught to fear the highway. We're told the parking lot is safe. Save your money. Be conservative. Don't take risks. But here's what they don't tell you. The parking lot has its own risks. Inflation is a slow, silent thief. Opportunity cost is money you never earned because your capital wasn't working. And the biggest risk of all, that you'll spend your entire life parking your money, only to realize at the end that you never actually drove anywhere. The highway has risks too, of course. You can crash. You can take the wrong exit. But the wealthy don't avoid the highway because of the risks. They learn to drive. They learn the rules of the road. They build vehicles that can handle the speed. And here's the quiet truth. The highway is actually safer than the parking lot over long distances. Because on the highway, your money is keeping pace with the economy. It's growing with inflation. It's being put to work in ways that create real value. In the parking lot, it's just slowly dying. So what does this mean for you right now today? It means you need to stop looking for better parking spots and start looking for on-ramps. A better parking spot is a slightly higher savings account interest rate, 4% instead of 0.5%. That's still a parking lot. It's just a slightly nicer spot. An on-ramp is anything that puts your money in motion towards something productive. Maybe that's paying off high-interest debt. Debt at 20% is a negative highway. Getting out of it is the fastest return you'll ever get. Maybe that's investing in yourself, learning a skill, starting a side business, getting a certification that increases your income. So that's putting money into your own human capital, which is the highest return asset most people will ever own. Maybe that's starting to invest, even small amounts, in diversified assets that have historically grown over time, putting money in motion regularly, regardless of market conditions. Maybe that's looking at your largest expense, your home, and asking if it can become part of the highway, a rental unit, a home business, an accessory dwelling unit, something that turns a cost into an income stream. The point is to shift your mindset from accumulation to activation, from parking to moving, from how much do I have, to how fast is it moving. Let me leave you with a thought experiment. Imagine you had to pay a daily parking fee on every dollar you kept still. A small percentage, Just 0.1% per day, deducted automatically from any money that didn't move into something productive within 30 days. How would you change your behavior? What would you do with your money? You'd find on-ramps fast. You'd put it to work. You'd keep it moving. Here's the uncomfortable truth, that parking fee exists. It's called inflation. It's called opportunity cost. It's called the slow erosion of purchasing power. It's just not deducted visibly from your account. It's invisible, so we ignore it. But the wealthy don't ignore it. They feel it, and they structure their entire financial lives to avoid it. Your savings account is a parking lot. It feels safe because nothing is moving, but nothing moving means nothing growing. The highway feels fast, maybe even a little scary, but it's the only road that actually goes somewhere. The question isn't whether you have money parked. The question is, when are you gonna get on the highway?